All right, class, this is a lecture for our class time that we would have had together for April 9th on Tuesday. I am going to be with Dr. Dew and a few others in North Louisiana doing a fundraising opportunity, both for NOBTS and Level College. He just asked that of me this past week, so I'm going to head on up to North Louisiana to do that with him. This is why we have a video for us today. Here's this simple assignment with regard to what you have before you. This week, we're focusing on entry for Tuesday and then evangelism on Thursday. You need to read all of it, just 2 pages, but you need to read it right here on in Foundations, this page and that page. It talks about the different elements of the task of entry with regard to the missionary task. It covers aspects related to research, read it slowly and carefully, presence, identity, and communication ability. Research is just a lot of things that are really important. As it says right here down at the bottom, careful research is an important component of the missionary task, and we set up structures and processes to facilitate and coordinate that research. In other words, when missionaries go and engage different people groups, especially unreached peoples and places around the world, research plays a vital role so that they can do it effectively and they can put their best foot forward as they start the process of trying to make these unreached people reach people with the good news of Jesus. And then you talk about presence here. This has a lot to do with creative access strategies. So read that because there's going to be a pertinent question that you'll need to answer on your quiz. It also kind of ties in a little bit to the third component, which is identity. And then the last one, communication ability, really centers a lot on language learning and how you go about that. So read both of these pages and then you have a quiz. I want to go ahead and show you this quiz right here because there's specific instructions as to how you're going to do this. First of all, this quiz actually counts towards your Joshua Project class prayer grade. If you've already done it, you pretty much got 100 if you did it on time. But however, now this quiz is an additional 20 points towards that grade, so you can actually have your grade for that particular assignment impacted if you do this particular quiz poorly. It relates to the Joshua Project class prayer because that's what you're going to actually use as you go through this particular quiz. Let's look at this. Number 1, based on the instructions from the video, provide information regarding your assigned country and people group. This is what you're going to do. You got to recall the assigned country that you had when you led the class in prayer, and then you're going to go to joshuaproject.net, joshuaproject.net. You're going to go to people groups, and then when you go to people groups, you're going to click on countries. And you're going to see this pop up. If you had Afghanistan, you're good to go. Let me use the country where I served. Let's go all the way down to Malaysia. All right, because this is what everybody has to do. You have to find the country that you were assigned, and then you go down here to these columns. You go to the last column on the right, and this is the estimated number of pioneer workers needed for initial church planting. So I want you to click on it, and I actually want you to click on it twice so that the biggest number shows up at the top. This is your assigned country and your assigned people group for this particular quiz. So for me, it would be right here, the Malay people in this country that are almost 14 million people, 10% Christian adherent, and 0.8% evangelical, with a global population of around 18 million plus. Going to use all of this. I'm going to have a means by which I'm going to click on this as well, use information here, as well as any other information I can find on the internet to help me answer questions related to entry for this particular quiz. Going back to the quiz, I want you to fill out detail related to your people group in your country and give me as much basic information as you can about it. You shortchange This particular assignment right here, you will be docked points. I need you to give me some information about your people group in your particular assigned country as it related to estimated amount of workers, all those stats, things of that nature that are going to be helpful to really think about entry. Because then you go into question number 2. Let me read it for us. The task of entry involves research. Using any resources and information you can find on the internet, answer the following questions. Number 1, how many believers in churches are among them, if any? So right here, you're going to answer number 1 and try and find out as much as you can about that particular question. Number 2, the status of Bible translation into their language. I need you to Google. I need you to research on the internet different aspects of Bible translation and what's exactly taking place with regard to your people group within your country for number 2. Number 3, is there any history of their interaction with Christianity and the impact that history may have on evangelistic efforts? So one thing I can point out with regard to the Malay of Malaysia is how it is a former British colony. And because of that, they have been introduced to aspects of Christianity through colonization. And so that's something that I need to make note of, to be aware of. And you can also factor in other things as to how Malacca and Penang and other places like that in Malaysia, as part of the Malacca Straits, was a vital part of the spice trade routes and the way in which Christianity, together with Islam, was also introduced. So those are some things that you can bring to light with regard to your country, and I really want you to do all that you can to investigate this for yourself with regard to their interaction with Christianity, if they've had any. And then number 4, basic religious, cultural, economic, and political information that could impact the missionary task. I want you to run with that. Give me a good answer. I'll make sure that both myself and Jordan understand that we're trying to really see that you put forth an effort and trying to address that so that you can get full credit for this particular question. Number 3, the task of entry also involves presence and identity. So regarding fit, missionaries should choose an access strategy that fits, which means that they can perform it with credibility. List 5 particular fits that could work in your country and your people group that would give access to people. You got to remember this. Access strategy should maximize access to the people we are trying to evangelize. What are 5 possible creative access strategy fits that missionaries could have working with your people group? So take all of the information that you utilize with regard to research as you start to understand your people group. Remember, we talk about percentages of urbanization. That could factor into the type of jobs and the type of needs that your particular people group could need. Could they be a bit more related to the city or a bit more related to the countryside or something like that? Then you think about those things, and then in light of those things, I want you to provide for me 5 possibilities of jobs, of creative access platforms that missionaries could have to be able to effectively maximize their interaction with your people group so that they could ultimately share the gospel with them, and explain a little bit why those 5 would be good opportunities for reaching and having access to your unreached people group. So that's number 3. And then there's one more. And this question is just simply this. The task of entry requires communication ability. Learning language is done best in context of full immersion. However, different people have different learning styles. So listen to this, because you think it's the same, it may not be. What is the main language of your country, and what is the main language of your people group for this assignment? So let me go back to Malay of Malaysia. The main language of Malaysia is Bahasa Melayu, but many people speak English as well. With regard to Bahasa Melayu, according to the different states, there are different dialects. Now, everyone understands one another, but there's different dialects, different accents with regard to the different states and regions of Malaysia. I can draw that out and I can kind of make notice of that. I want to see if you guys can, through your own personal research, understand the difference between the main language of the country and the main language of your people group. Are they the same? What style do then you prefer? This is a preference response regarding learning a language. Do you prefer going to an actual school to learn a language through classes, or would you think you would prefer learning language by being fully immersed into the culture, but you have little to no opportunities to speak English? I'm curious your thoughts about that particular question. So this is the quiz that you have for 4-9, and the good news about this quiz is that you also have until 8 a.m. on Thursday, 4/11, for you to be able to complete this one. But you need to come ready on 4/11 for us to continue on with the next quiz for evangelism regarding the missionary task. So be read up from foundations regarding evangelism, and we will keep pressing ahead on Thursday. Good luck with the quiz.